So, for our final interview before the Guitar Festival this year, we have our special guests, Alec Pearson and Luis Medina, who are the festival organizers of the Kelowna and Vancouver Guitar Festivals, respectively. They're both great performers and educators, but I think even more importantly, they're really the linchpins that have made the local guitar community what it is today. So, we have a really wonderfully active classical guitar scene in BC, and I really don't think it would have been possible in the slightest without the consistent efforts of these two wonderful people over many, many years building up the solid community here. And in a slightly unusual turn of events, there's also me as part of this interview, apparently, as a question answerer and not the question asker. So I guess a bit about me: I play guitar. I play mostly with my eyes closed. I practice on live streams, and I do a lot of research and experiments on brain stuff and how that can be applied to learning skills like the guitar. And then I lecture about that stuff at universities and festivals, of which this year I'll be part of the Okanagan and Vancouver Guitar Festivals that we've talked about, lecturing there. And those will be held from July 10th to 13th in Kelowna for the Okanagan Festival, followed by the Vancouver Guitar Festival right after that, July 17th to 20th at Capilano University. There's going to be 5 concerts between these festivals and days packed full of lessons and masterclasses and ensembles, so whether you are a guitar player or just an enjoyer of great guitar music, it's definitely worth heading to vancouverguitar.org to find out more about that. And you can also purchase admission to the festivals there or get tickets to all of the amazing concerts. And one final thing is that on July 16th in Vancouver at the main branch of the Vancouver Public Library, Louise will be very generously giving a free concert. So definitely show up to that and enjoy a great evening of music. And once again, vancouverguitar.org if you want to find out more information about that. So with everything out of the way now, why don't we begin? So let's start with something basic. Maybe we'll start with Alec first. Why did you found the Okanagan Guitar Festival? What's the history behind that?
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time and the very lovely introduction and all the kind words. And I didn't prepare too many questions for you in a formal way, so maybe I'll just ask things about you more informally, if that's all
Sure.
right. About the festival, so I grew up visiting grandparents that lived in Langley, BC, and my grandfather's brother and his wife have a summer slash spring and fall home that they live in Kelowna. And we often would drive through and visit it. And since I was young, even before getting into guitar, I really loved the city of Kelowna and just the scenery and kind of the energy there. And then when I came to school in BC and I did my master's degree with Daniel, I would still go to visit the family that lived in Kelowna. And it just became in my mind a thing that I thought, well, this would be a really lovely place for a guitar festival. It's
Mm-hmm.
surrounded by the beautiful wineries, and I'm sure many people other than me have found the combination of classical music and wine to be an outstanding mix.
Mm-hmm.
And the people are really nice and friendly. And also, I'm originally from Alberta, and Kelowna has an airport, and it just kind of seems like a little bit of a halfway point between Alberta and BC. And so I have a family that comes every year, and they vacation during the festival, and kind of has provides a home base for some of the festival participants.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just it's a fun time, and I like doing it. Although my life is getting busier and busier these days, so I appreciate that you've stepped up and helped me with some organizing this year.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see, how much energy I have to keep this festival going.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, I'm quite looking forward to the concerts and everything that we have planned out.
Great. And how about you, Louis? What got you with the Vancouver Guitar Festival in the first place?
I mean, it's I think more than anything, it was probably an attempt to try and, I guess, expose my own students when I had a full studio in Vancouver. Expose them to really high level teachers and performers. Among them, our own teacher, Daniel, Mark Teichels, who's coming back this year. Just really I think it also happened from identifying that once Daniel left UBC as sort of one of the top guitarists in Canada, um, like we were like missing like a superstar. And
Mm-hmm.
so this was one way to at least attract one a few days a year, and mostly for my students. And after I mean, I decided to open up to the public for the first year and for the first 2 years. And once I saw that it was like that there was like a real thirst for it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and obviously being involved with the Guitar Society, that's when we decided to sort of like join forces and just offer it straight up for the community altogether and advertise it live. So as such, so yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
mostly an effort to bring in like a really cool dude to town for a few days a year.
Great. And did you two take part in many guitar festivals when you were students or when you were earlier in your career?
Alec, do you want to take this one first?
Well, sure. I mean, definitely as many festivals and things as I could reasonably do. I mean, it's difficult when you're a student and you have like
Mm-hmm.
budgetary constraints and stuff, but yeah, I mean, you're trying to soak up as much knowledge as fast as you can, and you're trying to meet new teachers and other students, and you're trying to make sure that you don't get too lazy over the summer. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I did a little bit with the Guitar Festival in Calgary, Guitar Fest West, which is like
Yeah.
huge now. I've been to the Northwest Guitar Festival. I did an undergrad in Montreal, so I mostly watched the guitar competition that was there before COVID. And then Luis and I both attended as students for many years a festival in Caslo that
Mm-hmm.
Daniel helped to organize,
Yeah.
and eventually became kind of like a junior faculty for that festival before COVID put the nails in the coffin for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were also there as a
I
student for
was,
that
yeah.
festival as well. Yeah, and it was a super lovely festival. Like that was really an inspiration for me and Kelowna. This idea of like getting away and being in the mountains and having this beautiful backdrop and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I think I think not just in guitar, but any kind of music instrument you play, these festivals are important. But something about the guitar one seems extra, like kind of close
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like just more down to earth and
Yeah,
fun.
absolutely.
So yeah.
And Luis?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's by virtue of being on the same programs, we did a lot of the same things. Probably by virtue of also playing in a duo for a while, also, push us to do the same things. So yeah, I mean, it was just awesome going to the festivals. Like I remember that obviously Caslo was kind of like the closest to home, but
Mm-hmm.
like on a few occasions, we went to Calgary together, Alec and I. But then I also went like many other times after that. I went to the ones more east, like the one in Sobel Beach. That one was a blast. So yeah, I mean, and not just like so. These ones are all, I guess I would describe as non-competitive festivals. So it's really just for outreach, networking, and learning. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we also did the Northwest Guitar Festival a couple of times, and I mean, they're always what I love about them is that there's you always get something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like cool information, cool connections. You get to really expose yourself to fantastic guitarists of all places. It's great. But most importantly, is the community that you are a part of that you can miss out so easily when all you like when the vast majority of your interaction with guitar is a one-on-one lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's how a lot of us sort of like, really came to appreciate the idea of doing a festival. Is probably the reason that we started our own festival, so that everybody has that opportunity to really get together and like, I think it was in Mark's interview last week that he said we come to share our afflictions, and
That's
I feel
great.
like that was great for that.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Alec? Can you think of any of your favorite aspects of festivals, some parts that you enjoyed when you were in them as a student?
Well, I never really enjoyed competitions in any sense. So I really enjoyed the Caslo festival, where it's really in my mind kind of about more practicing the
Mm-hmm.
craft in a way that it actually works. Like I remember sitting through the Guitar Montreal competition. It was a great competition, super high level players. But I remember one year like listening to three people play the Hinastera Sonata like in a row, and I just thought, you have to really love guitar to enjoy this
Hmm.
like what this is doing, right? And Caslo Festival was not like that.
Yeah.
Everyone's playing different things, and people are playing, like you get like amateurs that are playing, and they're on the same kind of footing as like students that are trying to be professionals. And
Hmm.
I love that like kind of mix and that sort of like grassrootsiness of like the guitar
Yeah.
and sort of building community from the ground up. So that's like my favorite thing about festival, and that's what I kind of aspired for the Kelowna Festival to be. And yeah, that's what I enjoy. And then like hanging out afterwards and having a beer and maybe showing someone like a piece of music that you're writing or
Hmm.
some other music program or project that you're doing. That's super fun.
Great. And what kind of things can you expect at your respective festivals? Maybe Louise first?
Um, Honestly, just a bunch of guitar stuff that is just fun. Concerts, I mean, concerts, workshops, different kinds of workshops. There's gonna topics range from, just straight up technique. How do you play better? How do you learn better? Obviously, thanks to you, TJ. That one I'm particularly excited about because I mean it's not something that we get to talk about a lot about on a
Hmm.
regular basis, right? It's always like, oh, well, just don't go from the beginning to the end. It's
That's
like,
right.
great. What else can we do? So I'm really
Hmm.
excited about that. So yeah, I mean, it's really just like all guitar stuff, hanging out, playing together. And more than anything, like that thing that Alec talked about is the mixing, right? The mixing of all sorts of levels, of all sorts of trajectories, right? It's not just for aspiring professionals. It's not just for professionals who just want to get together and like refine their craft a little further. It's for enthusiasts, for beginners, and that's kind of the beauty of it, because at the end of the day, and I again, like, I always keep going back to things. I remember a lot of what Mark says. One time actually, in the Castle Festival, after Alec and I played quartets with him and Daniel. I think Daniel called it our professional debut after that night. And I'm sitting next to Mark after the concert, and we're chatting, and he's saying that the only difference between, say, him and Daniel and, say, like Alec and myself, the only difference is that they've been doing it longer.
Hmm.
And somehow that made so much sense and so inspirational that I think these kinds of events really provide these opportunities for enthusiasts to just see the same thing. It's like there's no difference. It's like the only difference is that we've been doing it longer. We might be doing it, for more hours a day. We take it more seriously, so we read a little bit more. We go to more festivals, so we just have more expertise to share. But the
Hmm.
reality is that there's no difference, right? It's like we're just a little nerdy about it, maybe, right? But we can have that interest to just share stuff with them to help them in their journey. So
Hmm.
I mean that's kind of what I love about it, I think.
And Alec?
Yeah, the question was like, what are we bringing to the festival this
Yeah,
year?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, I'm up,
Thanks,
but
Alec.
I also have to say the same thing Luis said, which is that I'm really looking forward to your talk, TJ, because I thought it was so well prepared and delivered last year, and a lot of the concepts were kind of things that already I was sharing with my students, but you had such a articulate way of presenting them, and then it was really nice having of course like science backed, right? Because
Hmm.
you kind of learn some of these things and you pass it down and it seems to work for you, but to actually have that like little extra touch of
Hmm.
authority behind it is great. um, yeah, and then I always really love review watching Daniel's teaching in the master classes, and he's like really one of my favorite teachers. Obviously, because I chose to study with him, but always watching his teaching sort of always brings me back to like the fundamentals
Yeah.
of what I know, and I just find that always makes me a better musician. And I'm quite looking forward to performing again in that church in Kelowna. It's very beautiful.
Hmm.
And then to perform, and oh, I won't be performing, but to seeing you and Luis and Gwyneth perform at this winery, which is a really beautiful location. Yeah, and trying that out as a new thing. It's really exciting for me.
Great. I
Yeah. What
remember
are you
being.
looking? Wait, TJ, what are you looking
I
forward
just
to at
wait a
these
second.
festivals?
You're not on the hook, man.
I think I always just like really enjoy the atmosphere. I like being around people who like similar things. And yeah, kind of like going back to the Mark interview, it's like it's great to be surrounded by people who are just like a little bit as insane as you are, and just kind of knowing that there's more like you out there, and that like you're not just the only one who's so obsessed with this little instrument that you just sit in your cave all day practicing. There's more people, and you can kind of share a bigger cave together for a weekend or two.
Great.
That's awesome.
I remember actually when I was going to my first guitar festival, I was super intimidated and nervous because I thought everyone would be really like scary and amazing at guitar. So what do you think would be a good level to be at to participate in your first guitar festival?
Can I just jump into that real quick? It was like, when was your first festival?
My first festival was the Caslo Festival. Yeah, Daniel invited me over, and I was so nervous. I was actually really worried going into it. I don't remember what level I was at. I think I might have just been going into university, or maybe right before university. Right after I finished my auditions, I went, and I was so scared. Everyone seemed so good and scary, and there was like a full program of like master students, like Kyle and I think Michael
yes.
and you and yeah.
So at that point, it was already quite like in the established years of the festival. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Do you remember who was faculty that year? Was that the same year as Jeff or no?
I think it was Mark and Daniel and you and Alec and maybe
Okay.
Galina and Rita.
That sounds. I wonder which year that was, but that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that it wasn't so scary. I feel like people sometimes, hear professionals and it's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be me, Anyway,
No, they were very nice, but I was very scared going in. The fear resolved once I got there, but it was a bit scary.
Well, I think I remember you in your student years, TJ, and you were always very focused and a serious student. So I think when you have that kind of personality, you're kind of hyper aware of
Hmm.
like the different shades and gradients of like professionalism, and you're aspiring to be that. So I think someone in your situation, maybe it's a little bit more scary, and someone who's like a total beginner, they're gonna have like a totally different
Hmm.
attitude going into it. But I think it's totally normal to be like a bit nervous and worried about like something like a master class where you're playing in front of other people for the first time. But if anyone's listening to this and they're concerned about that, I would say like not to let it put you off, because everyone else in the festival is in the exact same position
Hmm.
and trying to work towards the exact same thing. And if it really bothers you, you can always just talk to the organizers and they'll find a time to put you time and place to put you aside and do like a one-on-one, I think, right? So
Hmm.
right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's like to answer the question, I don't know if there's like a minimum level. It really depends on the festival. Like I know
Hmm.
that I believe that the Calgary Festival does recommend like for a student to have at least I achieved some resemblance of like level 3 of the RCM or something
Hmm.
equivalent, which I guess would mean that the students have some understanding of the fretboard, some understanding of sight reading, so so that they don't feel overwhelmed. Um, I like to at least I try to talk to the faculty whenever they're organizing workshops to include as fundamental topics as possible,
Hmm.
which of course can be applied from the complete beginner to the very advanced student, right? Because there's always like detail that can be worked on, no matter at which level. But yeah, I mean, if you have, I mean, maybe the minimum would be make sure you have a guitar and you've played a little bit.
Hmm.
Like otherwise you're gonna come in and just you might not be able to enjoy it as much, right? But if there's like a little bit of like just a tiny bit of background, I would recommend. And if somebody feels like really overwhelmed and they're like not sure, at least just coming out to check out the concerts, and
Hmm.
maybe considering like reaching out to either like one of us and say, hey, can I just come and check out a workshop to see how I feel? I'm always open to let people just at least like check it out a little bit, so they can have a sense and they can lose that fear. And maybe maybe the following year they'll be like, oh, you know what? It's not so bad. I would love to join in. Right.
Hmm.
So I think it's not a question of like what's the minimum level. It's like, just maybe just give it a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that either of you wish you had known before going to your first guitar festival?
That's a difficult question, Luis.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, it really depends on what the first festival that I went to
Yeah, it's hard to
must have.
remember what was the first one, like
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
long
for
ago
me,
now.
like, I think it's because I was kind of like, I think it was probably Seattle, in the Northwest Festival in my first year of university.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if oh, I wish I had known how difficult it was to go into the States with a Mexican passport. Um, that would have been nice. Um, but no, I mean, it was like, honestly, like, I remember going in with a very curious perspective.
Mhm.
Um, I wish I had known the kind of preparation that I needed to do a competitive festival. But
Mm.
that's not exactly the same as going, say, to a Castle festival. Because the first
Mhm.
time that I went to maybe Castle was the first one, actually, just like a couple months before that. And it was just so open and people were so nice.
Mhm.
Oh, you know what? That's the one thing that I wish somebody told me when I went to a festival, to pace myself, because there's so much going on
Yeah.
that I feel like the reflex is to want to attend everything and watch everything and do everything, that
Mhm.
by the third day you're exhausted and done, and you realize that there's still 2 or 3 more to go.
Yeah.
So to any festival participant, pace yourself. Try to attend as much as you can handle, but if there is a point where you feel like you need to step out and enjoy the outdoors, by all means. That's one of the coolest things about the festival being in Kelowna or at Capilano University,
Mhm.
is that you're surrounded by beauty and nature, right? So I would say just take yourselves out, I think. What do you think, Alec?
Yeah, that's good advice. I would say also, my style of student, like as a pretty soft-spoken person, so I would, try to prepare my best and then go and play my best for the teacher and kind of let them lead the lesson and tell me what they think I should be working on,
Mhm.
etc. And that's not necessarily a bad way to do it, but now looking back, um, maybe if I were to get like offer some advice to a student, I would just kind of remind them that this is their experience, and uh, they're totally encouraged to kind of play a role in guiding what kind of experience they want to get out of it. So if there's like a particular aspect of your technique or a particular thing you want to ask about, to not be afraid to do that and to really take advantage of the expertise of the faculty, right? So
Mhm.
like if you listen to particular recordings by like Daniel or Mark and there's something you love, like maybe try to prepare a little bit of that music and so you can steal their fingerings,
Right.
or just take the like just take an advantage of the time that you have with them to ask them like really specific things
Mhm.
and really like try to tailor your experience to those artists and what they know best. And I think that's a great thing, and it'll also force you as a student to kind of learn more in preparing in that way, right? So,
Mhm.
if I mean, not everyone is going to be so serious about it, and you don't have to be, but like if I'm recommending something for my university students or my students that are really passionate about it, that's maybe some advice I would give.
Great. One thing I actually don't see very often in festivals that are features of both of yours is the split concerts that you're doing. Can you talk a little about that and what inspired having so many artists each take a little 30, 40-minute portion of the
Yeah.
concerts?
For me, it was just wanting to invite more people to come and be a part of the festival, and then realizing that I only have so much time. So that's part of it. But then also, I think it's when you're watching 3 concerts in a row, like I mean, not back to back, but 3 days in a row,
Hmm.
kind of just seeing more changes of face and style and approach to playing, it kind of keeps it like more refreshing.
Hmm.
So it's like a combination of that, just wanting to have more people and show off more people, and then keeping things fresh and moving along.
Yeah, I totally second that. I mean, it's really just like there's so many, and I really mean so many fantastic guitarists that like we would love to have every single year. That it's just impossible. We just don't have the space.
Hmm.
So you just end up inviting a lot of people, and I think it's Alex is right on the money. Like having that variety, everybody has their own repertoire, their own playing approach, their even audience interaction. That just keeps it fresh, I think. At the end of the day, and I know that this is, I mean, I have to kind of apologize a little to the performers because it's just when the adrenaline is wearing down, you're
Hmm.
done. Whoop, sorry about that. But anyway, Alec, you take over.
Yeah, well, I
Billy
already
wants to
answered
talk
the.
too.
Yeah, that's right. Billy says, come watch me at the festival."
Sorry, he's a little scared. But anyway, so what was this? Yeah, anyway, so that's basically one of the reasons, right?
Hmm.
And I was gonna say, honestly, I'm just really excited to see everybody play.
Hmm.
I haven't talked. Alec, actually, TJ, were you planning to talk about repertoire choices or like what we're gonna be hearing in the concerts by any chance?
I wasn't, but if you want to talk about it, I don't mind.
Alec, what are
Yeah,
you playing?
I'm gonna play a few of my own compositions,
Cool.
which I've just been doing every concert I play in, and that's fun for me. And I haven't quite decided what else. Maybe some Barrios. Right now I'm mostly doing chamber music. I'm preparing to go to Quadra Island tomorrow
Hmm.
for some chamber music there, and I still have to think about what is. I'm also doing some solo performances there, but we'll see how it goes. If Luis asks me to submit a program, I might end up changing it before the festival anyways, so we'll see.
Hmm.
Yeah. What about you, TJ? What are you playing?
I'm playing a bunch of stuff, mostly Brazilian-ish things. So I'm starting off with Danza Brasileira, and then finishing off maybe with some Sergio Assad. I have some Barrios as well. One interesting thing is that I'll be playing a piece that was written for me actually. It's called Pacific Downpour, and it was written in like 20 something COVID-ish time when BC got super flooded. So that's an interesting piece, written by one of my nice friends from university. And then I'll be playing some Tansman, the Cavatina, and the other Cavatina, the one that people actually know from the Deer Hunter movie.
I
uh,
I was wondering. I made that connection when I saw because TJ sent me his program literally just last night, and I saw this Cavatina and then Cavatina. It's like, oh, the popular one and the other one.
yeah, exactly. And then I'll be
I mean,
finishing off
how?
with.
Sorry, go
No,
on.
no, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like I saw this and I mean some of it is like some pretty beefy, repertoire. How do
Hmm.
you? And this is I guess kind of like going into your lecture, I believe. Like
Hmm.
I'm very curious to hear how you handle so much repertoire that actually is at least considered to be that requires like the maintenance. You know what I mean? Like a lot of
Yeah.
maintenance to keep it up.
Hmm.
How do you do that?
Oh, a great question. I could talk about this all day. So
Well, you have an hour
what
and a
I've
half at the festival at least.
that's right.
Scott.
Mm. So basically, I've been using this program called Anki. It's like this free software that basically is just for spaced repetition. And what I did was I took every music that I wanted to keep in my fingers forever, split them up into like relevant phrases and then like large chunks and then like page by page and so on. And then I made like individual flashcards for each of those, threw them in there, and then let the algorithm decide when I should play it again. And basically, what happens is like when you're good at something, you get it perfect on the first try. It's fine. You never see it again. And if you're bad at something, it shows up every day, and you have to grind it until you can start playing it consistently. So I have like about 2 hours ish of repertoire that I just have in flashcard form that I just play through every day according to whatever the schedule tells me to. And by magic, it just keeps the entire program in my hands at like pretty much performance level forever. I don't have to spend too much time on the maintenance, and then I always have one new piece learning on the go. So I have all my maintenance rep and then like one new piece, and just slowly growing this pool of repertoire over and over.
Nice.
That's awesome. Can't wait to. Oh, there you go. I've recently discovered all of these sort of like FaceTime emojis. It's like, this is my favorite one. Check it out. I don't know if people probably know this. Right? Anyway, sorry. I'm gonna deactivate them now. That's honestly awesome. I'm really excited to hear you play this in Kelowna. It's gonna be awesome.
So I guess before we go on to, I guess, the me interview part of the thing, is there anything else that you'd want to mention about the festivals? Any just like free reign final things that you'd like to say about your festivals?
I'm honestly just excited to hear everybody perform and teach. I'm so glad that I didn't know. I really, for the performers, I really like to let them choose the repertoire. I think it's nice to sort of like let them be themselves as best they can be through choosing their own repertoire. So it was a surprise to hear that Mark is going to be premiering a piece by Assad based on the zodiac, the Chinese zodiac. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
and it was really cool to hear that. Yeah. And then Michael is going to be playing his own piece. Like, I think it's the first time he's performing his own composition, right?
That's right.
So you see, it's one of the just coolest surprises that I've learned. I mean, also Catherine, she's a young performer being featured on the Saturday concert. She just got second on the youth category at GFA.
Wow,
and
amazing.
I think that's awesome. That's crazy. Not to mention that she won the adult category in Seattle in April. It's nuts. So I'm honestly just, really excited to hear everybody play and see what they have to share with the students too. What do you think, Alec?
Yeah.
What are you excited about?
I think the question is more like, is there anything else we want to mention about the festival? And I will just say, I know it's not always easy traveling to Kelowna. So if you're worried a bit about accommodations or getting there, but you're interested in coming, please just reach out to us. So I do have maybe 1 or 2 spaces left in some group accommodations I always organize for the UBC students. And then there's usually some carpools and things like that available. So, don't let accessibility be a barrier to entry here. Just reach out and we can work something out. And then of course I agree with everything Luis said about the Vancouver festival. Sounds great. All those players are super talented, and I'm looking forward to hearing them a lot. Yeah.
Great. Well, then I guess I'll open the floor. Is there anything you want to ask me?
Well, I'm just curious what you've been up to lately in general.
In general, I've been, I guess, focusing on health, and I just finished writing a novel, and I just maybe a week ago I finished. Yeah, it's about 300 pages long. It's pretty
wow.
Yeah, nice and sweet. I sent it out to a few people to beta read it, so we'll see what happens after that. Maybe look to get it published.
So what inspired you to write a novel?
I've always been really into reading, always, like since I was a kid. I probably have read I don't know, maybe a novel a week or more since I was really young. And then I like writing as well too. And I figured I had this story in my mind, and I just wanted to get it out onto paper. So finally managed to do that. And yeah, so this year has been a very productive year for that. Yeah.
Can you give us a brief synopsis there?
Yeah, it's basically a story about I guess loss and found family, a little bit mythological as well. So this father's family got into a car crash, very tragic, and he I guess had this little book of rites that he used to accidentally summon something into the world, and it took the place of his daughter. And it's just kind of growing up with a very loving family from a very outsider perspective as this otherworldly summoned thing, as it grows to learn about humanity and connections and love and bonds and friendship and family, and just little slices of the scenes of it growing up from a child up into an adult old age, learning about all sorts of emotions and grief and loss. And I think it's a sweet little story about finding humanity and finding family.
Oh, nice. How long did it take you to write that?
About 6 months. I started in January-ish. I was also writing another novel at the same time, which is also about 300 pages now. So I was like working on both simultaneously. So
Yeah.
these were like my side projects while also practicing and doing the concert things.
Yeah, I find when I'm like writing music, well, I've took some composition lessons recently, and I asked the composition teachers if they also share this thing, and it seems like it's just a weird thing I do, but I always have to work on like at least two
Mm-hmm.
projects at once, so I can
Mm-hmm.
kind of bounce back and forth between them, and I find it keeps me like fresh, and I
Yeah.
can, whatever ideas I'm thinking about, maybe it does like something comes up in one, like an idea
Mm-hmm.
is sparked there, but it doesn't actually fit in that one, so I can put it in somewhere else. But I
Yeah,
always find that
absolutely.
like having two creative things kind of feed off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then I find that really interesting last year when you were talking with Dale Kavanaugh, and she was talking about how she kind of conceptualizes her practice as a program as like an A and B, and like
Yeah, yeah,
rotating
yeah.
between the two as well, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's super useful. And I find that like when you get writer's block in one, you go to the next one and like it's like a highway, and then you get writer's block, then you have another highway that opened up on the first project. It's
Yeah,
great.
exactly. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
it's the same way sometimes also with practicing. Like
Mm-hmm.
you get stuck in one spot and it doesn't seem to be clicking. Sometimes the best thing to do is just have the wherewithal to be like, okay, I'll come back to it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
let's work on something else and actually be productive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That's awesome. Just you're like, wow, two novels and one of them is ready. That's fantastic. I
Yeah.
didn't know you were.
How many novels have you written, Luis?
Uh, nothing.
You count
No,
a
not a
thesis as a
novel.
novel?
Oh my gosh. What when it's done, I may count it as a novel. But no, in the meantime, it's still in the research process. So just a lot
Mm-hmm.
of reading more than anything, and just note taking. It's not. I'll get to it when I get to it. That's how I'm gonna put it. No, that's great. Honestly, that's really cool. I can't wait to read it sometime.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking for that also.
So you were saying that how often do you go rock climbing? You were saying that you're like it's been a few months, right? When did you
Mm-hmm.
get into it?
I got into it maybe around October last year, and I go maybe once or twice a week. It's really fun. It's kind of like problem solving. I find it's really similar to guitar. For example, like some guitar technique things where like you use gravity and you hang and you try and find like the most efficient line of motion. It translates so well to rock climbing. So I think it's a really nice thing. Like I feel like it's irresponsible, but I would recommend rock climbing to other guitar players too, if you can protect your nails, anyways. Because I feel like it's great for the hands. It keeps your muscles and body really healthy to counteract some of that grovelly guitar posture that you find yourself in pretty often. And yeah, I think it's a nice thing to just stay active and keep the body and hands moving in a different way than they do in guitar normally.
Nice, good stuff. I love hearing it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think also just that it's great to have some hobby outside of music, right? Like, I
Mhm.
think, I mean, it's so easy to let this thing we do kind of overtake every aspect of our life. And I think when you have like an outside thing, it can kind of inspire your main thing too, right?
Mhm. For sure. And I
It's always
found
nice
that
to get back into
recently.
it, right? Sorry, go on.
Yeah. I found that recently, like since I adopted this new way of practicing that's a little bit more sciency, I found that I really cannot practice for nearly as long as I used to before. It's because I think like with the quality of practice increasing and like utilizing your brain at more capacity during practice means that like you can't really sit down and play for like X hours in a row. It like your brain just like shuts down like really fast. So even though I would love to practice as much as before, I really like in a whole day I can maybe get like 4 hours maximum, and like that's it. That's like anything past that is goop. So it really does free up a lot of time for exploring other hobbies. Whereas before I felt like locked in and I had to do like 6 hours, 8 hours or more to feel like I had done anything. Now, like, I could not even fathom doing that much. And if I did, it wouldn't really be real practice. It would just kind of be like moving your fingers around ineffectively.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's I think I was trying to find just now. I think there's a quote by Rubinstein about that as well, right? Like saying he can't imagine practicing more than 4 or 4.5
Mm-hmm.
hours a day, and also just saying like, if you do what like what's feeding your practice, right? Because like you're supposed to have some kind of inspiration from your life that
Yeah.
fuels all of this and
Mm-hmm.
gives you a compass to work towards, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think this kind of hardcore mentality of shutting life out and focusing on your art, we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot because actually
Mm-hmm.
life is sort of like the fuel for the fire, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think, yeah, and in the long run, it's a disservice to your, to your life in general, and also your career as a musician. Um, at the end of the day, you gotta get out. I mean, especially for health. I mean, for all sorts of reasons, right? One of them, health. You need to move, and I'm still trying to figure out a way to incorporate more movement in my practice. That maybe putting a strap on a guitar, not my Blackwell, and just practicing standing up, just so that everything moves a little, at least for the variety and the extra movement. Do you ever try that, DJ?
I've really wanted to try playing with the strap, but it always doesn't work out. Like the guitar just gets too close to my body, and I can't really like my hands are too narrow.
Mm,
I wish there was a thing that could like keep the guitar as far away from you as it does when you're using a support or a footstool.
Oh, there is a thing. You got to stop
Oh
climbing
yeah,
mountains and start drinking more beer.
yeah,
That'll
that's right.
be
You can get
the goal.
nature's
to keep it
support.
away.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is like isn't like I don't know. I think it's in Germany. It's available. Like, so everything cool for guitar is either in Japan or in Germany.
Hmm.
But like there's an actual tripod for a guitar. What's his name? Felix Deler, who's a guitarist based in Ottawa, I believe. He used to practice a lot on one of those, and like he would like sit down or just adjust the height. He would practice standing up. I don't. The only thing that I don't love about that tripod is that it's I guess stuck in one position. I think it's important to keep some level of mobility when you're playing, because the chair is never the same way. Your back is not always the same way all the time. The passage itself requires a different posture. So that I would be curious to try that.
Also, then you have to carry a tripod around with you.
Oh my gosh, he looks like he's carrying like a body in a bag. He was heavy. I remember that.
Yeah, it
I
sounds
saw him
awful.
at the Summer Beach. Yeah, and that was not fun. I mean, is what TG, what kind of support do you use? Because you're not using your footstool, right?
Yeah, no, I use the. I think that's the one Alec does. The SageWorks thing, the magnets.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's very convenient. Just like slap it on and you're good. It's perfect. It takes zero
Yeah,
seconds. The
I
setup
I
sucks,
have
but it's
it.
great.
Yeah, I have it. Just I mean, I like to switch things around a little bit. But yeah, like for instance, I really like the guitar lift or Le Support by Thomas Villotton. But the one thing that I don't love is having to carry a big piece of plexiglass around. I'd like the convenience of the footstool or the burnout or something that you can just like fold and put away.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so the tripod wouldn't go in that direction at all.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, guys. Maybe we should wrap it up, huh?
Sure. Okay, so I'll just do a little quick summary. So, once again, for anyone who is watching, the Okanagan Guitar Festival is going to be held from July 10th to 13th in Kelowna, and it'll be followed right after by the Vancouver Guitar Festival from July 17th to 20th in Vancouver at Capilano. And just a note that July 16th, there's a free concert in Vancouver at the main branch of the Vancouver Public Library with Luis as the performer. So absolutely go check that out. And you can go to vancouverguitar.org to find out information about all of these different things. So yeah, with that being said, let's call it a day. Thanks for chatting. It's been nice to catch up and talk about the festivals and stuff. And I guess I'll see all of you at the festival in a few weeks.
DJ.
Book.
Thank you. All right, well, take care, everyone.
Bye bye.